Owning one's own home was once considered the pinnacle of the American dream. A place that you could just reside in and not have to worry about intrusion from the government, from anyone else, and you could do with it as you wanted. You could build your wealth, you could raise a family, you could live out your days in comfort. Almost sounds like I'm there right now. But that's all it is, as you can see. It's a dream now. Purely a dream. We have to realize it again, but it's going to take a lot of work. And we can trace the troubles in the housing market back to the days of Louis Ranieri in 1977 at Salomon Brothers, when he created what was called the mortgage-backed security. He saw potential for increasing profits in the banking system, because he was a banker, by bundling people's mortgages into a single financial product. Hence, he called it the MBS, the mortgage-backed security. And the banks saw this as the goose that could lay the infinite amount of golden eggs, because people were always paying their mortgages. It was considered a safe investment. And as a result, year after year, their profits skyrocketed. But along with those profits, so did people's monthly mortgage payments. And that's where things started to get out of control. And it's one of the reasons why in 2008 the housing market crashed, the whole global system crashed, because that was the spark that lit the powder keg, really. That mortgage-backed security product created by Louis Ranieri. And as a result, housing is now unaffordable. It's being scooped up by foreign investors who use it as a money laundering operation. Instead of stashing cash in offshore tax havens, they invest it in homes across, not just oligarchs and rich people and businesses from other countries doing it here. Canada has the same problem, apparently, with Chinese oligarchs and Chinese companies. And in the UK, they have an issue in London with Russian oligarchs buying up properties there. So it's not just in the United States. De-commodifying housing is essential to making basic housing a human right. So it's not that there's a shortage of housing. It's that there's a shortage of affordable housing. And it's because people with money scoop up the properties, turn them into rentals, and essentially become slumlords, which makes the rest of us a rentier society. It's almost like feudalism all over again, only a hell of a lot more expensive. And guys, I can't stress this enough. This is part of the natural course of events with capitalism. Let's assume that in a capitalist system, everybody starts on an even playing field. It's a game. It's ultimately a game. It's a race. And at the end, there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. The thing about capitalism is that it always eventually ends with a small group of winners or a single winner, which means everybody else that is not in that group or that person is a loser. And after the game is over, what happens? Well, the losers are at the mercy of the winners. The winners get to decide what happens to the losers. So if we can no longer own a home because it's too expensive, and these slumlords, these foreign investors, these foreign companies are buying properties up around the entire country, we as citizens, people who need homes, are at their mercy. How is that even allowed? One thing we need to do moving forward is we need to make foreign investment of American properties illegal. We need to ban foreign investment on domestic properties. That can only be available to American citizens. Only American citizens. It is on American soil. If you are not a tax-paying citizen, you should not be allowed to own property in this country. Period. That's one way we do it. Another way we do it is to get it off the stock exchange. Ban stock trading on housing. Ban private investment in housing. The only commodification that should be allowed in housing is strictly between the homeowner and the potential buyer. That's it. That's all that should exist. Homes are a necessity. A roof over one's head, protection from the elements, protection from any dangers that might be out there. Those are necessities. So decommodification of housing should take paramount moving forward as we move into a more, dare I say, social democratic or democratic socialist future. And I don't know if they're going to do this in Chile or not. I'm actually interested to see it because they've chosen to go the route of socialism lately. They just, had kind of a whole socialist overhaul down there. They're rewriting their constitution. I will be interested to see how that turns out. But in this country, we have a long way to go. Because right now, only the super rich can afford housing. And it was partly due to the banking system back before 2008, where the average Joe and Jane who saw an opportunity in the stock market through the housing market, they would buy up properties, but they wouldn't use them. They would simply pass them on as rentals to other people, which meant that they would raise the price so much that the rental costs would be well beyond the ability of the average person to pay, because they wanted to pass the buck. They didn't want to have to pay the debt owed on that house. They just let the renter do that. So anytime you hear somebody say, well, I don't want my taxes paying for nobody else's health care, they need to pull themselves by the bootstraps. Understand something. Anytime money changes hands, as simple as a pack of gum, that money is always an overcompensation for what was actually required to produce it. So the extra money that you pay is funding someone else's lifestyle somewhere. Always. So it's a bullshit argument when someone says, why should I have to pay for their lifestyle? Why should my taxes pay for their health care? Why should I have to pay for them to sit on their ass? They totally miss the point of what it means to be part of an entire society, right? And I ask you this. Is the money truly yours when it leaves your hand once you take an item? Like, for instance, once you buy, a new computer, and you pay, say, $920 for it. Is that $920 still your $920 once that computer's in your hands and you have the receipt and you walk out that door? Is that still your money? The computer's yours. The money's no longer yours. You could get it back if you exchange it, depending on the exchange policy, but that's the extent of it. Money changes hands all the time. Money exists. To say it's our money, it's only our money so long as we sit on it and we're not using it. That's the only extent. Housing must be a universal right of all people in this country. We need basic housing. Now, I'm not saying give mansions to people. What I'm saying is, like single bedroom apartments or studios to start with, a trailer, a townhome, something basic, okay? That can be the starting point and you can build from there. But building from there should not be impossible. Building from there should be 100% attainable. That's one of the reasons we need to decommodify housing. One reason we need to get rid of investing, get the housing, market off of Wall Street. And once we do that, man, once we get those people out of housing, the investors, the greedy executives out of housing, things are going to get a lot better for people. More and more people will be able to have a roof over their head. More and more people will have security. More and more people will see their health get better as a result of that. And that would actually lower healthcare costs in the long term now, wouldn't it? So, and it would also increase the chances of them landing a job. It would increase the chances of them being able to get a loan on a business. It would increase the chances of them, maybe even being able to get into a good school. Who knows? The point is, homes are essential for survival. You know who figured this out? Finland. Finland has a program called Housing First. They've structured their entire upbringing, raising people, with housing being the very first thing that they have. And once they have that home, they can take care of everything else. The people in the home. That's the way we should be doing it here. We have some examples of it. I know somewhere in New York City they do it. But it should be a national thing. And if we did that, I guarantee you, our financial system would be better off, our job market would be better off, our health would be better off, and you would see this country's standing in the world and the state of the people in the country begin to improve dramatically.